Hey everyone, this is your captain speaking, and if you're new here, my name is Matthew Stelzner, and I like to create videos on astrology and tarot and depth psychology, and I have a podcast, and in this particular video, it's the second video I'm recording in a series of videos on my 2020 forecast. And in this video, I'm using the incredible technology of tarot cards and oracle cards. And I hope you'll check out the previous video where I discuss the 2020 alignments, particularly the incredibly rare and powerful Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto triple conjunction that's happening all year. And hasn't happened for over 700 years and won't happen again for 1,000 years or more. That one. So I think it's really important you check out the first video so you have a sense of the general energy we're talking about. And it's also the beginning of the conversation, I feel, is in that video. And it's continuing here. And I'm going to record another video that's more on the global scene, the political situation, international scene. And that may have been released before this video. So I'm not sure which order, but that doesn't matter. Be sure to check out the first video, no matter what. Whoop. Oh, look, one card already fell right out. Oh my goodness. It's a woman, or it could be a man, in robes, embracing a tree. Embracing a tree. Feeling herself a part of nature, experiencing her contact and connection and deep relationship with this tree, with this forest. And yes, she's listening to the trees. And this is, of course, an important moment, profoundly important moment for us to listen to the trees of this good earth. And again, I'm very aware of the fact that Australia is on fire right now, and this precious relationship that we have with nature is under assault, and very aware of the death of millions and millions of animals and creatures of Australia and also around the world in the different extreme weather situations and climate situations. I feel that this first card that just fell right out is bringing us right to the heart of the matter. How we are in contact and deeply connected to nature and the powers of nature, the forces of nature. And in the first video, I talked a lot about how Saturn, Pluto, along with Jupiter, Pluto, has something to do with protecting nature, protecting resources, being in connection with nature and celebrating nature. Yes, how sometimes Saturn, Pluto can indicate death of nature, or the way in which nature goes through crises. And on the other hand, Jupiter, Pluto is the renewal of nature, how nature can come back after devastating losses. I think that's really important to be thinking about that in the midst of so much devastation to planet Earth and to nature, of which we are a part. We are experiencing devastation in the rainforest, for example. Our lungs, we can sense it. It is us, what's happening there. And it is us, what's happening in Australia and all around the world in these extreme times. And yes, remembering that nature comes back, even in the midst of incredible loss. There's a force of nature that can bring life back. And I think we have to remember both these things. The way in which nature is under assault right now. We human beings, many of us are under assault. I'm thinking of the children, 10,000 or more, separated from their parents here at the border of the United States and Mexico. I'm thinking of those children that are being traumatized. And yet, I'm also aware of the way in which there's a force of nature that moves through us that can overcome devastation and come back and thrive in spite of pain, in spite of devastation, that we can overcome. We can overcome, we can persevere, and that there's some force that can transform tragedy into some redemptive, positive potential. And the mystery of how sometimes there's incredible joy and expansion that's in seed form in the midst of pain. Like it's not, I mean, sometimes situations are so dire as we're feeling in the situation in the Middle East and what's happening with the climate. These situations are dire, and there's in a way we have to just feel into the way it is an existential situation, and that there's nothing positive about it. In a way, there's nothing redemptive about it. We have to feel that truth, but then feel the truth of redemption. The truth that life perseveres beyond anything that tries to hold it back, and the sense of trying to control nature, but the way in which nature cannot be controlled. I think these are themes that we may be exploring very deeply this year. And so we just jumped right in here. I was intending to ring a bell, and I still will. And say a prayer that I might be a channel of some kind of guidance, some kind of positive guidance through the use of this tool of tarot, and also through divining the heavens. We're divining the heavens, the positions of the planets, and trying to find meaning in them, while at the same time we're divining the cards, divining the altar. And I want to say that whatever messages come through are for me and for anyone that observes this video, that happens to see this video. I like to do a 5-card spread where the first card begins the conversation. Sometimes it indicates a question. Clearly, we've begun the conversation with trees and contact with nature and meditative, soulful awareness within nature, as nature. Conversation begins there. The second card continues the conversation, but often also will indicate some important, helpful aspect of the background leading up to the conversation, somehow indicating something important to be aware of that's in the background to this conversation. Yes. So that's the card I'm about to select. And by the way, I'm shuffling the Osho Zen Tarot, my beloved primary deck. Ma Deva Padma's amazing art and creation. Thank you, Ma Deva Padma, for this deck, my beloved deck. And I'm about to select the second card. I just have to wait for the pull. I'm waiting for the pull of the card. And it's practice for trusting the intuitive pulls of life This shuffling practice is a practice around feeling the pull and honoring the pull, waiting for it until it just happens. This is it. We're on our own. That's what Bob Weir says. And he sings Hell in a Bucket, if you know the song. Excuse me. Yes, this is it. We're all alone. We're on our own. That's hell in a bucket. We got to face the truth of it. We're on our own here. And it's an existential situation where sometimes we can feel very lonely and isolated from each other. And this card is the Hermit in the traditional deck. And it has a lot to do with turning within to find the light within. Turning within to find your own light. And how in times like this, that's our responsibility. In the midst of the darkness, we have to do what we have to do to remember light. And to recognize that there is light within darkness and that light can overcome darkness. Here is someone who feels very alone and existential in the world and yet has found the light within. Has found the light within. And I think we need a lot of hermits who are taking these first few weeks of the year to really focus in and find that light. Right now with the sun conjoining Saturn and Pluto, it's like the sun is our light, and it's the light within each of us, the light that each of us is, that we are sparks of light from the divine. And so when the sun comes onto Saturn and Pluto, I think it has a lot to do with finding light within the darkness, or understanding how that sometimes as things become dark, there is still a light that can guide us through whatever challenges might be there. Yes. Sun and Mercury conjunct Saturn and Pluto these first 2-3 weeks of January 2020. It's potentially an existential kind of alignment, and there's a lot to be existential about right now with what's unfolding here in the United States. It's a scary existential moment where there's a sense of darkness descending on the world. And sometimes that can be the feeling under Saturn-Pluto times. But within these dark challenges, there is a gift. And I think that gift is the awareness that comes that there is still contact with the light, and that the light can shine upon the darkness and reveal itself in a way that's cleansing and purging. I think that the world is going through a cleansing and purging process. It's going through a lot of things, but it's cleansing and purging the dark shadows of human history. And we are integrating, and it's being shown in our face, these dark patterns of human history. And yet we also discover that there's a strength that overcomes, there's a force of good that overcomes the darkness, and there's this gift in these moments where we find that truth, where we find the force of good that overcomes whatever lies in the shadows. The third card represents the questioner. It mirrors back something important about me, about you in the process of this conversation, asking these questions about 2020 and what are the lessons of 2020? What's important to remember about 2020? What's a really important thing for me personally to be remembering this year? So that's what this next card is, and I'm waiting for it to come. Here it is. Boom. Courage. Check it out. Check it out. I love it. The courage to hold on to light. The courage to believe in light. The courage to persevere even within the darkness. Finding strength in the light that you maintain contact with within your process, your daily spiritual practices and process, where it's our responsibility to make contact with our light and to feel how strong it is, how powerful the light is within us and around us, just how powerful light is, especially in dark moments when it feels like all light has gone out of the world. Courage, Mary, courage for our friends. I love that line in Lord of the Rings. Courage, Mary, courage for our friends. Yes. There are very powerful forces of greed and power and ravenous gluttony that are causing great damage on the world. Call it the military industrial complex, call it the corporate media, call it the 26 billionaires that own half of the resources of the entire planet. 26 billionaires. That's what we're talking about. Courage to face these powerful control systems. Courage that comes from the awareness that light overcomes these forces. The arc of the moral universe is long, but bends towards justice and magic and love and light. It bends towards light. It is light bending through space-time, warped by masses of gravitational attraction. Something like that. Courage to face the darkness and persevere, having found the light within, recognizing that we are the force of light. We feel our courage. We move forward and recognize that something amazingly grand could emerge out of this underworld. Yes. Fourth card is just the continuation of the conversation. I think that's the most important thing. It can represent important aspects of the environment, people, places, and things, obstacles, allies. But let's just see what the flow is here. Oh, it's the Fool, the courageous Fool. See? Oh my God, look at these solitary people here. This woman is solitary within, connected with the life force energies of nature. These two are the same, yin and yang of the hermit in a way. They're both kind of turned within, making contact with the life force energies, finding light and finding courage through being alone. Sun conjunct Saturn the next couple weeks. It's a kind of pull yourself up by your bootstraps and work hard to overcome the challenges of life, to build yourself into being with great courage, to build yourself into being with great courage. I think the Sun, Saturn, Pluto alignment here these next few weeks is a big one for kind of solitary forging of your own sword of destiny. Solitary forging of your sword of destiny. I like that. Yes. The sword of destiny with which you will leap into the year ahead and pursue your objectives with a sense of honoring your limitations and perseverance of self-love and Yeah, persevering, strong self-love. That's a big one this year. Aiming towards a big goal that is within reach. It's a reasonable goal that you've had for many lifetimes on this middle path. It's not a massive goal that's unrealistic, but it's a goal where you get to level up. This is a level up year, I feel, where you work hard on that level of the game where, you just slowly go through the level and you make sure to get all the loot and you don't waste any of your bullets or your magic or whatever you got. And you get to the end of the level and you've got all this loot and resources, and then you get to level up. I think it's a big year for resource management and not wasting anything and waiting for the right moment to invest your resources to level up and get the new superpowers. Yes, that's what we're talking about. And yeah, leaping into this powerful river and trusting the river life force energies to take you where you're going. That it's not a fighting to get somewhere year. No, it's a surrender to a force of nature that's a kind of moral power with a higher moral, hopeful vision. There's a hopeful power in the universe that can take us places if we let it. There's a hopeful power of the universe that can take us places if we let it and focus the energy and show up to work with it. Not just kick back and let it take you anywhere. No, there's a cooperation with nature that this year is about. A cooperation with nature where you protect nature and you collaborate with nature to build a vision that you've been aiming for eons, that we, the planet Earth, have been aiming for eons. That's what it feels like to me. It's an epic drama this year, and there's some intense forces that are not that positive, that have some problematic qualities, some very problematic qualities. Yes, there's some really difficult forces out there that are oppressing a lot of people. And yet, there's also a moral power that is strengthened in situations like this. And we can feel that strengthened moral power within us and pursue morally positive timelines that are epic in scope, where everybody gets leveled up, where the energies level up and the frequencies level up, and you head out together towards that great castle on a hill. The castle on a hill, and this reminds me, I drew one card. I actually drew a bunch of oracle cards before this, which I haven't seen yet. But the very first one I drew fell over, and it was so perfect, I had to just keep it. And here it is. This is from also Ma Deva Padma's deck, the Tao Oracle. The Tao Oracle, amazing. And look at this mountain, this powerful mountain, and how it just perseveres through all seasons, through all of the challenges of nature. It just perseveres, and it provides a setting for life forms and life force, and the birds that live in the mountain, and the dwarves that live inside the mountain, and the towns that build themselves on the side of the mountains for skiing and good water. And yes, the way in which mountains provide amazing views of the sky, and how humans have moved towards mountains to see the vast vistas of the sky and to allow themselves to be guided by those cycles of time. I think that's what we're talking about here in the word duration. It's like no matter what's happening right now on the planet, remembering that it's a part of something massive, a massive force that's bigger than this moment in history, and it is going somewhere. And this earth is precious and powerful. Gaia is profoundly powerful. And this is a year to remember that, to make contact with nature deeply and allow her to show you what a badass she is and how she's got our back, like she's got the whole planet's back. And whatever the assholes of the world might think, they're up against something really badass. And her name is Gaia. It says constancy, continuity, endurance, perseverance, maturity, strengthening, stability, a deep commitment. All of this feels like the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto triple conjunction. Gravitas and maturity, wisdom, persevering, slowly climbing towards your goal over lifetimes. Persevering the way nature perseveres to bring its redwood trees and cliffs and mountains and amazing views. Yes, that's what we're talking about. Said the Fool, leaping into life with great courage. Okay, there's one more card in the 5-card sequence. This story of our Fool leaping with courage into life. There's one more card, and it concludes the conversation. It concludes the conversation. Our Fool with courage and faith of the light that they've found within. They leap into life again and again, in spite of all the shit that's out there, yes. And the last card is ordinariness. More trees, look. Trees and flowers and rivers and sky, the moon and the stars. Yes, look at that, ordinariness. I love that this card came, this healthy field, this healthy meadow and the blooming flowers and the ordinary person just walking in nature and appreciating the beauty of it all. How ordinary that is. And how under threat that is right now. Ordinary people given the resource of time to enjoy contact with nature, communion with nature. So many people don't have the time to be in contact with nature. And so many people are losing their contact with nature through natural disasters. So intense. So many people are not privileged to have this ordinary experience. And yet we all deserve to have this ordinary, laid-back existence where you're not fighting for every dime that some corporation is trying to suck out of you through surveillance capitalism. Surveillance capitalism, the Orwellian situation we're in. And yet, this is our birthright. This ordinary, happy person with no hurry, just walking through the meadows and appreciating the beauty of the experience, the beauty of the experience of the future human who lives with shared resources for all, where everyone gets the resources of time and food and clean water and contact with nature, where everyone gets that experience regularly and is not confined to cities or to danger zones. Yes, that's the power of nature to return us all to that birthright. That's what nature does, brings us all back into harmony with nature. That's always what's happening. Nature is trying to bring itself back into harmony. Sometimes it does that through pretty intense experiences of nature and weather and climate. Sometimes that's how it goes down. And all the human beings on the earth are forces of nature, are expressions of nature. And some of those expressions of nature are making it really hard for others of us. And yet they underestimate the way in which nature is moving powerfully through the 99% of us who are going to be agents of the light and bring harmony back to nature And yes, I think there's one or two last cards. And here's one. Beyond the mind, the heart beats. Beyond the mind, the heart beats. I think this is an invitation to not get stuck in the negative problem-solving left brain that judges and has anxiety and fear and worry. And you stand in that left analytical brain. And there is some of that potential the next couple weeks with Mercury conjoining the Saturn and Pluto. The potential for some kind of dark thoughts. Some of those have been explored here today. Darker communications, fearful mindedness, getting stuck in negative thought loops as caused by trauma. Yes, there's a lot of that potential. That's why it's so important that we not be in our heads all the time, that we're not always listening or reading the news, and that we're trying to exercise and be in our bodies, and we're doing spiritual practice so we can be in our heart chakras and in contact with our higher self and in contact with the angelic beings who remind us that we're going to be okay no matter what. That's really important. Beyond the mind and all that negative thinking, the heart beats. The beating heart also informs the mind, so it's not so negative. You know what I'm saying? And there's an animal. There's an animal. Here it is. What is it? Loon. Intuitive. Loony Loon. Looney Tunes? I think it's a reminder to have a sense of humor about everything. That's so important with Jupiter on this alignment. Jupiter on Saturn, Pluto. Yeah. It's an invitation to try to find some humor in the midst of the darkness. Trying to find humor in the midst of the darkness. It feels so taboo, and in a way it is. But on the other hand, laughter and humor is one of the great sources of healing in this life. And so prioritizing that, finding time to laugh, and also be grim, taking in the gravity of the situation, but not all the time. Trying to laugh and smile and stay in your heart and stay in your spirit while also acknowledging the darkness. Okay. Is there one more card? There is a unicorn card. This is the Spirit of the Animal Oracle. This is the Sacred Rebels Oracle. And, well, there's the Heart of Fairy Oracle. What's this? The Shadow of the Past, of course. Saturn and Pluto has a lot to do with facing the shadow of the past. The karma of greed, of misuse of power, exploitation, and hoarding resources, the impulse towards control and domination and genocide and all the rest, slavery, misogyny. That's the shadow of the past. We're healing that karma. There's no way to heal the karma without seeing it clearly. And I think it's a moment in history where we get to really see the shadow that we are creating. Yes. We're doing that. And, we're going on an adventure. Look at this unicorn saying, dare to do things differently. Manifest your travel dreams. Jupiter has something to do with travel. Being a citizen of the earth, the global situation. Yes. Manifest your travel dreams. Move to a new location. Interesting. Move to a new location, this card says. Well, that could be literal, like that there's a big move in your life. I think this is an epic year for epic restructuring of our lives. It is a year for building a big project. It is a year for building a big project that you've been intending for lifetimes, perhaps. And building that big project may involve a big move. It may involve travel. It may involve moving your home within the town you live, the city you live, or wherever. It could be just moving locally, that kind of travel and big move. Or it could be moving to another state or another country. Definitely. This is a big crossroads year in terms of timelines going forward, epic restructuring of our lives, and building really strong, stable structures that carry you into the timelines ahead. So that's the adventure we're on. Also, I think this move to a new location could be saying something like move to a new location in your consciousness. If you live on a gloomy side of town in your consciousness, maybe it's time to move to the sunny side of town in your consciousness. Yes, sunshine consciousness, moving there from fear consciousness and poverty consciousness, moving towards abundance consciousness. These are locations in your psyche. They're locations. You can kind of intentionally travel to the location of abundance consciousness, of light consciousness. You can learn to travel there and keep it positive, keep it real, stay hopeful, but stay grounded. Yes, I think these are the messages. I think these are the messages. I think this fool here is leaping onto the back of this unicorn with courage, and the shadow of the past is behind because it's been well explored and well integrated, and this fool is in a flow state, and they've moved out of the left brain, and they're more in this intuitive place, which is what I meant to say, that this card reminds us to stay in the intuitive pole. That's what we're practicing and training here when we're working with astrology and tarot, communion with the sky. We're surrendering to the pull of the cards, the pull of the sky, the pull of our intuition. We're training our intuitive awareness to be attuned to that pull. And so that's what this Loony Loon is reminding us of. Trust your intuition as you have a way of knowing. Emerge from the busy life and seek more solitude. That was the Hermit card. Recognize that you are unique and that you are loved. Remember to be a loon. A little bit loony. It's good to be a little bit loony in this life. Okay. If you like this video, I would be really grateful if you hit the like button. And if you're new here and you're not a subscriber to my channel, I would really love it if you'd subscribe and come join me on my starship. We're going to be traveling to some really deep, profound places this year, and I would like to let you know when a new portal update is put online. And so if you subscribe, be sure to hit the notifications bell. Then you'll get notified when I put up a new video, and it really helps me if you hit the notifications bell. The way the algorithm works, the video will get more attention with those bells ringing. And I would love it if you'd share any comments below, reactions. All these cards are for you in different ways. Just the way I talked about them was for me and my way of talking about them. But you could turn off the volume, turn off the sound, and just flow with the cards in your own way. And so if you do that, I'd love to hear how you've done it. And if you have other meanings to these cards, by all means, please share them, and I will respond because I love reading comments. And share it with anyone that you think would like it. And I have a promotion happening in the next few weeks. And so please visit my website at stelz.biz, 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 and sign up for my newsletter, sign up for my mailing list, and you'll get my newsletter and promotions and opportunities for things that other people won't know about because they're not on my mailing list. And so if you sign up there, you'll get the latest newsletter and the latest promotion, and you'll see my calendar if you hit the little blue button in the corner of every page of my website. Okay, am I remembering everything? Yes, this promotion involves some discount on my fees for individual readings where I do astrology and tarot guidance, and I would love to be a guide to you if you resonate with how I'm working. I'd love it if you'd check out what I've got available and set up a session. And with that, I send blessings, 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 love, light, blessings, love, and light to all of you in 2020. Travel well and stay tuned. I'll be back with lots of updates and guidance through this portal of ours.